Yo and hello, my rowdy friends, and welcome to the SummerSlam 2017 edition of the Rasslin Roundup. This is Rowdy Chris Leemore coming to you, joined once again by Writrzblok Jeff Gwinnip and the host of the DukeCT Lounge, Charles Thomas. Welcome once again, guys.
Hello.
Hey, everyone.
And yeah, unfortunately for the second straight show, my normal tag team partner, John Paul Weber, not present. He has gotten back from the wilderness or wherever he was camping out for so long, but unfortunately he's also got apparently on call to fix some kind of printer that's breaking down worse than Ember Moon or Bailey at the moment. Was that too soon a joke, guys? But how well. But either way, the main thing is, unfortunately, he could not make it. So we had to shelve one subject we were going to talk about. We'll get to it in due time. It's a pretty big one, but we still got a lot to talk about, as the biggest party of the summer is pretty much just less than almost 24 hours away from the time that we're starting this podcast at 6 p.m. Central Time this Sunday. And already, I gotta say one thing, is that usually we seem to get the idea that that the last shows before the big pay-per-view, what has usually been called the go-home shows, that we usually don't think there's that much to talk about going into them. Not the case this time, after last SummerSlam, that's for dang sure.
That's true. I was, last year, I didn't care for any of it at all, and when you can look at my video review of it, plug, I was just really less informed and such.
Oh, yeah. And I was saying, look, I still to this day, it's been a year or so gone by, so I still haven't even watched last year's SummerSlam in any form. There was absolutely nothing that interested me in it whatsoever. This year's card's a little bit better, but, so I definitely am going to be tuned in tomorrow, but, like I said, last Tuesday on SmackDown, probably the biggest shocker anyone ever saw, where a title did not change hands.
Yeah, and I went off a bit on Twitter about that.
For those who are unaware, the way SmackDown ended last Tuesday night was immediately after John Cena beat the WWE champion Jinder Mahal in a non-title match. Jinder found himself in a title match, as that's when Baron Corbin elected to cash in his Money in the Bank privilege. And the end result, Corbin becomes only the third man in WWE history to cash in and fail.
Oh, and I have some things to say about this. First off, if you're going to set this up for Corbin, who did not do anything with the Money in the Bank briefcase, why put him in that match? Why do this whole thing? In fact, I did not like the whole setup of the match begin with. Got a mix of winners and losers in the match, because the previous pay-per-view, you had people in the Money in the Bank briefcase in the MIB match. They didn't even earn it. They just just random people picked up. You have people who lost there. I mean, if you want to be honest, why was AJ Styles, Corbin, or anyone else who lost on that at last night's pay-per-view be in that match? In fact, I was like, why didn't Ty Dillinger or this is the dude that says who won the Andre Giant Battle Royal with the helper from Gronkowski? Who was that dude?
Mojo.
Yeah,
Mojo Rawley. Why did he? Yeah, that's the thing. I always, if you want to make things important, you have to have winners and build them up to win the briefcase, and build them up to do that sort of thing. Instead, just say he lost and he won the briefcase. And he started losing, and you wonder why. It went to say, to make a surprise. Oh, he's a champion now. No, you have to make the person who wins the briefcase, seem legitimate, and not only are legitimate, but actually have them prove that they are legitimate, and have them win matches competitively via nefarious means, if they say they're clever, or if they actually are someone who's actually a babyface or someone like that. Make them win their matches definitively. Makes them, they're like, wow, these guys are really tough in the ring, and regardless, they do have a world championship match opportunity and such. Now, what happened with Baron Corbin, he did really nothing with that. And even better, they set him up. Honestly, they set him up to fail. They had, after the match, if I can, y'all can just go rant because I'll save my energy for that, because y'all can just describe how the whole thing started, because the way it was set up was just a way to just destroy Baron Corbin.
Jeff?
Well, really, just it's not a good look for him. That's one way to put it. Yeah, it's like he comes in. He actually interrupts he actually interrupts the match, causing disqualification by hitting John Cena with the briefcase, and then knocks him out again, and then he tries to do a little thing where he wants to leave, and then just says, like, you know what, that guy just took 2 AAs, one from the second row. I'd be a dummy to not cash this in. It doesn't matter that John Cena's Super Cena, and he'll, shrug off the briefcase in just a moment. So cashes in, immediately decks Cena, who's on the apron, gets rolled up, 1, 2, 3. Here he is, the biggest douche in the universe.
Oh, the biggest loser at this point. I'm like, even if he destroys Cena at SummerSlam, I'm like, you can't really do much with it. I mean, you just made him this person who, you made Jinder Mahal look like a $1 million under the expense of someone you believe can be the future, who is someone who's more interesting when they don't have the WWE scripts in his face. Another problem, but how the WWE builds talent. In fact, you could look at Jinder in his videos without he's being a script. He's actually really interesting. And in fact, they have videos making him look like a babyface hero. And now he's supposed to boo him because he just does a whole Stuart Majaraha stuff. It's just the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
Well, I'll say this much. For the way that match turned out, if anything, now, obviously, yes, there's a little something about how maybe he would, and I'm saying this from a storyline perspective of the story of that match. Yeah, he probably wouldn't have been upset at the fact that Baron Corbin attacked him, but to me, the guy who had looked up kind of out like a dumbass in the whole thing was Cena. Because if Baron Corbin had won that match and become WWE champion, wouldn't that turn Cena's match with Corbin? Wouldn't that become the title match at SummerSlam then? So Cena may have accidentally screwed himself out of a title opportunity at SummerSlam, well, at least from a storyline perspective.
Well, that's unless Jinder decided to go to. That's unless Jinder decided to go to Shane or Daniel or something like that and go, I'd want my rematch at SummerSlam or whatever.
Yeah,
and then they decide to make it like a fatal 4-way because SummerSlam should just have nothing but fatal 4-ways.
Well, that's
WWE did have a fatal 4-way pay-per-view, and it didn't end up well.
Well, yeah, obviously none of that was going to happen this close to that. The card was going to get changed that drastically without insinuating circumstances this close to the start of the pay-per-view. But the more first off, when I first saw this, I did think that maybe this is the opportunity to take a Baron Corbin that had become very stale and dull the last few months, especially since he won that briefcase. Like he was just biding his time, so to speak. That maybe he'd gotten too overconfident because he had that opportunity, and now since he lost it, this might give him the opportunity to transform back into this monster heel where he might destroy Cena this Sunday. I think, for the most part, I think there's probably a good chance that that Cena will put over Corbin, because supposedly he's got 1 year left on that whole 7 years of losing at SummerSlam as penance for not putting the Nexus over and all that stuff. I don't know exactly how logical, how true all of those rumors are, but there is one other thing that I think you have to take into possible account, because you know me, I am the type of guy who really tries to take all the dirt sheet information with a grain of salt, because if anything even sounds the stupidest thing possible, it's people trying to report on professional wrestling, trying to act like they're real sports journalists. That's probably a subject for a whole other time period, but supposedly there might be some backstage issues with this. And this kind of goes into, I think, another subject of something I've begun to notice for the most part, is that apparently Corbin may be getting some legit backstage heat going in, that WWE management did not like some of the fights he's been picking with individuals on social media. In fact, supposedly he's actually, I think he said he blocked a couple of WWE employees on his Twitter account or something along those lines.
Yeah, you know what? This whole thing, that to me says a couple things. One, everyone should not have a social media page. Like if you're working a company and stuff like this, you don't want to have, a social media stuff unless, if you're doing it yourself, man, that is a road to ruin. More often than not, because how many times you do some dumb tweet in the middle of something, wrestler can do all this type of stuff and it just embarrasses the company. The best thing to do is don't have a Twitter, if you're not big type of man. And two, be smart. Be snarky at some points to some people or something like that. Corbin, since he does seem like to play the snarky troll on Twitter, which is fine. But
this is one thing I will say about one thing about that is clearly WWE on the whole is really in favor of social media. They like being able to spread their product and their superstars via it. The one thing that's kind of what makes me I can't say I dislike it, but it is kind of interesting to look at, but it still kind of makes me wonder is exactly how much are WWE superstars trying to be kayfabe and trying to be real when they post all this stuff on social media. I mean, in fact, I keep saying one of the things that I really worry about is that Twitter battle that Becky Lynch has had with Cyborg, the MMA fighter. Like,
that would have been interesting.
I really, really hope that's just a work in some way, because my stance that I love Becky Lynch. I do not want to see her getting into any type of real fight with any MMA fighter. But
you know what? Cyborg is real, and Becky's not really doing anything right now. I think it would have been a great thing, but supposedly that's been killed off because of Ronda Rousey trying to do something, and that's sad because I'm not hip to the whole MMA jive or anything else, but Ronda for the most part has been, forgotten about in the fighting league circles. Chris Cyborg. She actually said, wanted to do something with WWE. Would have been interesting. Would have been actually, in a match or something like that. Heck, I had an interesting, a little story in my head. It's actually her and Chris Cyborg actually did have a match. And, Chris Cyborg does win, of course. But Becky it's a strong type. It's a hard fought victory. But then Chris I like you. You know what? Why don't we train together and build yourself up to become champion again? That sort of thing.
I will say
that would have been actually interesting.
It would probably, I think that the chance of getting someone like Ronda Rousey is probably still more realistic, because I just can't see Dana White signing off on any of his major stars or talent doing anything direct with WWE, just because the problems he has with WWE. If Rousey,
but he owes some favors though for Brock and all that stuff. He owes a bit. They got WWE has some favors for UFC. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff. So,
but anyway, getting back to what I was previously saying is that and of course Jeff is free to jump in on this at any time. And I'm sorry if we kind of seem to be burying him on this in any way, shape, or form.
That's okay. I've got an underground tunnel.
But what's getting to is that Corbin is not the only individual that there seems to be reports of backstage heat going on. That also, of course, could be said of Enzo Amore, who's basically becoming a damsel in distress in a match here in SummerSlam. Of course, it was just a few months ago that Big Cass and Enzo split up. Enzo was basically destroyed at the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view, and now has just been kind of floundering. There's all been kind of talk that he may be moved down to 205 Live, but the main thing is that even in the wake of it, there's just been a talk about how he basically has been displaying not a very good attitude backstage, and that's
what I've heard. I've heard he's like just kind of popped his collar and made himself to be more of a big deal than he actually is, and a lot of the guys not really feeling it. And I heard one specific rumor about Roman Reigns, tossing him off a bus or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's the even better part is that this is not the 80s, 90s, or mid 2000s locker room. They see most people in the WWE locker room seem to chill, that they like each other. They don't do that backstage BS and politics or the wrestler's court or anything. It seems that everyone else seems to be like a good time. Like, we're cool with each other. How much of a dick that Enzo is, that he basically is pressing people to say, Roman Reigns saying, you know what, get out. Just get out of the bus. And even better, you have strippers telling him, telling his story and everything else, saying that he's not really a good stripper, a good tipper and such like that. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, this dude's a mess. And he's acting like he's big and bad. He's acting like he is just so above everybody. And I feel bad for Cass. He just sits there. He's like,
yeah. And the thing is,
he has to leave the Raw. Cass has to go away from Raw. Trade him to SmackDown. It's going to be another superstar shakeup. Just put him on SmackDown. Maybe turn the face next year. He needs to be away.
We'll wait and see on that. But like I said, it doesn't even extend to even just Corbin and Enzo. Now, this may be, for now, a much more smaller capacity because I'm not hearing too much of that. But it seems like someone else might be starting to build a bit of an ego problem, and that would be the current #1 contender for the Raw Women's Championship, Sasha Banks. There's been a lot of talk that promo she cut in the post-match show of Great Balls of Fire, which she just tears into the champion Alexa Bliss, that some people really wanting to think and believe that wasn't just kayfabe. And, okay, let's get the same start. Everyone's going to think biased if I say anything like this, because most people who are watching, most people on the show right now, they know my love and fascination with Alexa Bliss. I think she's one of the best superstars. That she's probably the most entertaining superstar, currently in WWE right now. Now, I do try to give every person a fair shake that, hey, maybe I'm not that interested in this person as a character, but if they're at least trying, I would have given them the benefit of the doubt. I'm kind of worried that Sasha Banks, I hate to use this term, but she may be devolving into the proverbial spot monkey. I mean, this is someone who's, it seems like she hasn't done anything to advance her character any in these last few weeks. It's still the same thing of she comes out to the ring, on stage, all glitz and glamour, flashing her bling bling, saying she's the boss and all that. And then she steps into the ring and she completely transforms into this like fighting, plucky, never quit underdog that just seems to be I'm trying to find the right word to say here, almost a counteraction to the two things.
Antithetical.
A contradiction.
Contradiction might be the word I'm looking for here. Thanks, Chuck. But yeah, it's just the fact that she seems to be becoming one of those performers that seems to think that only her in-ring action should be enough to sell her as a superstar. And that's the #1 problem I've had with, and we'll talk more about this in more detail when John gets back. We're able to do this, but it's my #1 issue. I seem to think with so many people in the IWC who seem to take ring work over character. When I think for the majority of this is one of the rare instances where I think I'm in the majority of my opinions. I'm not in the majority in most of my opinions in my life. I admit that freely, but it seems like the majority, they need a good character to give them reason why they want to see this person win in what they know is a staged environment. And
yes.
I mean, maybe and the thing is that what fascinates me and makes me enjoy Alexa so much is, yeah, she's this this sarcastic, bitchy heel diva who can even make a lifeguard's chair look like a throne at times. But it's just that she has so embraced and running full throttle with that character that just makes her so much fun to watch. It's the same reason why so many people thought CM Punk was so entertaining even when he was an a-hole in some of his more bigger runs as champion. But others like Sasha they're just not going full throttle with or trying to develop their character, and eventually you just get tired of seeing the same ring action because it's all predetermined, and it's almost like you're just watching a stage combat class instead of an actual action movie. There's no...
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you look at, the Defenders, for example, that just came out on Netflix and such, and don't worry, I binged through the whole thing. If you haven't, it's great. Is that they paced it so well that, yes, you see them, Iron Fist, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage fight, and they have some really good stuff there, but there's also character. There's actually meaning why they fight, why they're assembling, all these things are there. It's right there, and you can see it. It feels like, man, you actually feel for these characters, and you feel for what they're going through. That's actually what's missing in most of WWE right now, is that I don't care for any of these characters.
And
Do you care for any of these characters at all? No. And now look at, say, for example, Lucha Underground, which I keep tearing and such. Last time I was here, I talked about it. It is the antithesis of it. It's just the mere version, and yet you have all these stories and everything else there, and yet the funny thing is that most of the internet fans love Lucha Underground. They love it. They don't care for much of the wrestling, but they are so invested in story, and that should tell you something.
And I'm gonna say this: like, everyone wants to talk about supposedly the lack of interesting stories going on in WWE right now, and everyone wants to put the blame just either on Vince McMahon or the creative team. This is something I just can't seem to find myself agreeing with. I'll give you a couple of examples, and one of the biggest reasons why I do that is something else that just got released by WWE recently: the second uncovered edition of Southpaw Regional Wrestling.
Yes, that is actually really fun.
Yeah,
I've gotten to the first and second episodes of it. I'll finish it up later on tonight, but it is fun.
Yeah, I binge watched like the second season yesterday in about an hour.
But that's what I'm getting is that that's a product that is being made by WWE Superstars. Someone in WWE creative had to have drawn that whole thing up. It had to have obviously gotten Vince's approval. So the ability to put out effort is there in WWE, and that's why I keep saying any struggles they're having creatively with the actual WWE product, I'm thinking the source of blame is elsewhere. Like, perhaps they're having to deal with with high-collar stuffed shirts in the USA Network offices they are the ones wanting the product to be so watered down because they're the ones afraid about ticking off some high moral guardian sponsor that they're so reliant on. And in just the fact that I think that if there's anywhere where people just have stopped caring, it's in television executive production anyway, which tells me that when WWE is not restrained by a television network, they still have the ability to create some good stuff. So I think
they can, and that's the frustrating part, is that they can do great things. They can do these really fun, exciting things to get people interested. But the problem is I think they have all these writers, they have all these type of things. No one, it seems, when I look at some of these wrestlers where they speak in a promo in WWE, it seems like there's a lot more tense. They seem more not as relaxed as they were. And when I look at, say, for example, you look at the SummerSlam, only a few people can be that relaxed on the mic. You see, as much as we can blame Enzo, or anything else. He's just really good at the mic. And just seeing how just so comfortable. And same thing as Samoa Joe. Same thing. Roman Reigns is getting better. Braun Strowman, I think he's done good well. Alexa Bliss, in the list of really good stuff there. Heck, some people tonight are actually pretty good. I think Ember Moon is slowly getting better. Asuka is really good as well. There are many people in that company that can, sit back and just actually do some good stuff and mic work.
Yeah, that's a very good subject you basically seem to be alluding to, is that I think the one thing that we haven't been taking into account and keep forgetting is these last couple of years has been a very developmental process for a lot of superstars, that they were almost thrown to the wolves, especially after WrestleMania 32, when so many people got called up straight from NXT, literally the day after WrestleMania 32. They've had to take their time in getting accustomed to this new style that what they have to deal with. But ultimately, what I keep trying to say is, like, I understand ifs and why some people might be disappointed with the current WWE product, but I keep thinking that their anger is misplaced in who exactly is really responsible for any lack of quality right now. It's that you're blaming people that, that they were around back when the product was still good, so at least individuals, the people really up at the top of the chain, like Vince and Stephanie, Shane, Triple H, and the like, who are now running the show. They were there back in WWE's heyday, so maybe the difference is someone else entirely. And like I said, USA Network was meddling in their affairs back then, but I just think they've gotten even worse there. And I'm just saying that because of my experience of how bad TV network executives in general, across the board, are. So it's just, I think, I do still think it's going to get better over time. But the main thing is, one, have faith in guys that they really believe can carry the mainstream. They still haven't found that one mainstream superstar yet. But obviously, I think the one concern I have is that a lot of those guys that especially are being attracted by those IWC fans like Enzo Amore and Sasha Banks, I'm worried that they're starting to get ego problems, and that's what's leading to some of these backstage difficulties that some of them are beginning to have.
Yeah. You have to, again, it's always about these building blocks, actually to really center around them. And, oh, man, and you look, again, hear this conversation back to SummerSlam, one of the most, to me, dropped balls of WWE's with their latest stuff is Bray Wyatt, who has, this year with Bray Wyatt, it's not been kind for Bray Wyatt. Forget his off-wrestling stuff. The in-wrestling stuff here has been, the beginning of the year, it looked fine. He was actually the champion, and then his house was destroyed, and then he, with all that mystical stuff he had done, and oh goodness, this mystical stuff, and then next gets RKO'd after he showed that little projection screen of his power at WrestleMania. Then the whole House of Horrors fiasco, where it was the only time he won because that title wasn't on the line. Then you had this terrible match with Seth Rollins, and then Finn Balor, which is somehow I felt like this can't be this was a promo. I mean, first off, Finn Balor can't do promos. He can't. He just seems like he just seems like, for someone who's been in the indies and someone who has worked in wrestling for so long, I don't know why he can't do any good promos other than like backstage with a highly edited. But when they're live, he's like,
we'll get into that in just a moment, because actually, I think this is a good time to cross over into, let's start talking about these SummerSlam matches now. So we'll get into that right now. So
sorry for ranting.
Well, it's no problem. I'll give you more time to do that ranting when we get to that match in particular. Usually on these shows, as you know, my colleague John Paul Weber usually reads the card to us. He's not present here, so I've got it in front of me right now. Well, we've got 3 kickoff show matches tomorrow at SummerSlam. We've got the Hardys teaming with Jason Jordan versus the Miztourage. And it looks like this is, I guess the biggest issue is we're still trying to wonder where exactly is WWE looking to go with Jason Jordan.
Well,
they killed his career. They killed his career, like I said.
Oh, stop. Just stop. For fuck's sake, they killed his career. No, the thing is, they gave him a really bum angle to not to no pun intended.
Yeah, you really can't avoid that, but yeah.
Yeah, they put him in a storyline where he's Kurt Angle's son, and the thing is, they've done virtually nothing with it, and nobody bought it. Nobody has bought it at all. I mean, yeah, and storyline can only take it so far. Like when they tried to have Hornswoggle be Vince McMahon's son, then he turned out he was Finley's son, and now nobody cares, because it's not important. And I mean, like friggin' Eugene was originally supposed to be Eric Bischoff's nephew, and then that fell by the wayside. So in the end, it really ultimately it doesn't matter, and I know they can't really just get away from that right now because it's still too fresh. But at the end of the day, they will eventually get away from that, and I mean the sooner the better for Jordan's sake. And he needs to work on his character and his ring character and try and bring a little bit more personality to it.
I do wonder if he's gonna try that, because my prediction for this match is I'm guessing Jason Jordan will get the pin to beat The Miz Taraj, and that's going to try to carry him over into a feud with The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship.
I really hope not, because I have ideas for the Intercontinental Championship, but I'll save it later.
Well, that looks like it looks like the most logical path for them to take. Like, especially him getting the pin on The Miz after, like, after hitting the finisher and everything.
Right.
I mean, because really the Hardys are there because they're the Revival's out because of injury, and the club decided to fuck off and help Cass beat up Big Show.
Yeah.
Why? Who knows? Who cares?
We'll get into that obviously very, very soon. In the meantime, the second kickoff match is New Day versus the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Episode, who I'm not really sure anymore, but it's the New Day. They're always entertaining.
Wow. The New Day are in a kickoff show. That is, to me, wow. I mean, that's just sad.
That's pretty sad. I mean, especially, considering the New Day are a money tag team right now.
Yes,
I mean, they're still a money tag team.
I will say this. While I do enjoy the New Day, I have become very impressed at how the Usos, they may not be NWO level, but they've kind of latched on to being that entertaining heel group. So they're trying to actually try to get on Daniel Bryan's good side, try to see he's trying to want to rap with them and everything. Is that, yeah, they're supposed to be the bad guys in this feud, but they just kind of do it in that cool way that they're gonna get their fan base in some form or fashion. I could see this match going almost either way, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, but you know what? It's sad because these two teams had a great match in the previous review, and I'm just pissed off that, you know what? I mean, they should just, I don't mind the Cruiserweight title or Jason Jordan and his stuff going with the Miz Ross, but the titles should be championships, main championship belts, tag team titles should be on the main card. I don't believe that, wasting time,
Well, honestly, in an ideal situation, you wouldn't have any title matches on the pre-show at all. You'd have them all on the main show because they're the titles. They're supposed to be important.
I would say this. Maybe I'm naive, but I would say this match would have been on the regular card if it was any show other than SummerSlam, just because of how stacked the card ends up becoming. And I mean, I'm looking up and down here at this card, and given just who else is on it, about who's already an established superstar, who they're already trying to push as the next superstar, I'm not really sure what you bump down to put this match off of the kickoff show and onto the main show, to be perfectly honest. But the next,
I can tell you right now.
Okay.
I can tell you right now what match you put down there.
What?
Big Show and Cass.
Boom.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll definitely have your guys the ability to have your say on that. In the meantime, like the final pre-show match, I'm sure no one's surprised that this is on the pre-show. Akira Tozawa defending the WWE Cruiserweight Championship against Neville. Was a pretty big shock, I'd say, that Tozawa defeated Neville for the title on SmackDown last Tuesday. And right now, I can't really see anything other than him retaining this match.
And honestly, I'm going to say this, and this was a good call, because Neville's championship reign, I think I will mirror what Donnie said on Twitter, is that it's been a complete boring, I think it's been a complete bore. A lot of people are like, oh, what about his new character? I'm like, fine, his character's fine, but you got to look at the optics, man. No one cares. No one cares about 205 Live since he was champion. No one has cared in his matches. In fact, his matches, the fans have been chanting beach balls. Hashtag beach ball mania. Not just after the WrestleMania, but during like him and Austin Aries, it was supposedly a decent match, but the crowd was either silent or they were chanting beach balls.
Yeah.
Beach
I swear to
balls.
God, I swear to God, like anytime like someone gets into like a beach ball chant or someone starts bouncing a beach ball over there, I just pray to whatever deity is listening that someone grabs that beach ball, pops it, rips it up, and stomps on it. Because may I?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Fuck people who bring beach balls to a goddamn wrestling event.
Hey,
You're not there to watch a person. You're not there to watch a person bounce a fucking inflatable ball back and forth. I don't care if you don't think the match is good. You're not there for a fucking beach ball. You're there for a wrestling match. So you know what? Sit down, shut the fuck up, and watch some goddamn wrestling.
Can I get Rowdy to shoot that same thing against people who do the wave at baseball games?
And thus a red ring appears in front of Writrzblok.
But I think the main thing is for this match is you're not just trying to promote Akira Tozawa, who's the new champion. This is also about trying to push Titus O'Neil, I think, as a big-time manager. That, I still got to give a lot of credit with all the difficult issues that he had backstage with everything, that they're still trying to find a role for him and putting him in a good situation. Like I said, we get some good charismatic managers, it's only going to make the product better. So hopefully having him being able to have an actual champion in his stable is going to increase the Titus brand's presence more in WWE. So let's go on.
If anything, he could end up being like the face Bobby Heenan.
Face, you saying he could be the face that runs the place?
Oh boy, we'll get into that later.
The only thing about Tozawa and Neville, I just hope is that they do not just have Neville win the title back.
Yeah, I think.
I think this is actually good because you talked about Shawn Smith earlier, Chris. They actually, the whole Titus Worldwide, if you watch some of the videos, they are so great with each other though.
Oh yeah,
they have a great chemistry, and you know what? I think he should be pushing for the Intercontinental. I wish they could just drop the Cruiserweight thing, have Tozawa and Cruz go for the tag belts.
We'll wait and see on that, but speaking of the tag team titles, let's move on to the actual SummerSlam card, where we start with Sheamus and Cesaro defending the Raw tag team titles against the reunified Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose in what, to me, has been probably the most compelling story on Monday Night Raw these last few weeks, because you just get, I said, it took a lot for me to warm up to Seth Rollins again. In fact, and see a guy who maybe really has. And this is something that I think doesn't happen enough in wrestling. When you see a face turn and you see a superstar that really looks back at what he did as a heel and have some legit regret about it. And it's that kind of giving Seth Rollins more of a humanized character that starts to make him compelling. But at the same time, I completely understand why someone like Dean Ambrose would be so reluctant for so long to warm up and believe that he could trust someone who betrayed him like that ever again. And that's how you make compelling storylines.
Yes, I agree. Because honestly, Seth Rollins, well, for the past several months, I didn't care. In fact, if you look at my Layla WrestleMania review, she plugged with the Hipster Ninja. We actually talked about this, the unlikable and just outright just unrootable face of Seth Rollins. I mean, this is the same dude several months ago, this year said that he wanted to go to like Stephanie McMahon's house and knock on the door and find his kids inside trying to hunt after Triple H, basically threatening to beat their dad in front of them. I'm like, dude, no. I'm like, yeah, you lost me. And then he tried that sad, what was that live interview, which was so bad in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is basically a really not much of a smart territory. Dead crowd was dead, and there was one people just screaming, CM Punk. CM Punk, and that was like only 4 or 5 people. The rest of the crowd was dead.
But that's where a guy like Ambrose comes in, because, like I said, Ambrose essentially is saying what people like you believe in, saying, look, I don't buy this crap, and he just had to make Seth continue to work and push and prove to Seth that, look, I'm not that person anymore. Yeah, hey, maybe there were still aspects of that person when, I was threatening to beat up Triple H in front of his kids and stuff, but I have kept trying to make myself a better person, and that's why I'm thinking that I'm pretty sure it's a good bet that Rollins and Ambrose are going to win the belts and beat Sheamus and Cesaro tonight. If anyone else has any other different theories about what's going to happen.
But I think it is going to be something.
Ultimately, whether they win the titles or not, I mean, I honestly kind of hope they do, mainly because it would just continue their story about reconciling and being on the same page again, and it would be a perfect cap off to it. And then maybe I'm not saying this is a definite thing. I mean, maybe it would reignite a feud between Sheamus and Cesaro. But going back to the story about Rollins and Ambrose, I mean, it's completely understandable on both sides of the coin. You have Seth trying to show that he's not who he was, a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. That he realizes that the path he went down, while financially lucrative, cost him just about everything. And of course, at the time you don't see that stuff. When you're seeing the bright lights and the money and the cars and everything and the dick pics and the sex scandals and stuff, you don't really see what you're doing to yourself and where you're leading. So him wanting to prove that he is a changed man, or at least has changed for the better, that's actually some really good storytelling. And of course, Dean's skepticism is completely understandable. I mean, this is a guy he trusted for years and stabbed him in the back, with a friggin' chair. Yeah. So you have that dynamic, and they collide, and of course, like the moment on Monday where they finally manage to lock wrists, and just the crowd goes wild, and it's compelling stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on. The next match is Alexa Bliss defending the Raw Women's Championship against Sasha Banks for the first time since Great Balls of Fire.
For the first time since forever.
I'm the Diz nerd here, and Alexa is as well, so as if I need another reason to love her. I'm going to say this much. Like I said, this is what I've said even back after the first match. I would not have a problem with Sasha Banks beating Alexa for the belt if she just did something different to make us actually make a win enjoyable. Like, Sasha has made it pretty clear that her idol was Eddie Guerrero. And I'm thinking, if she was to pull some type of Guerrero finish to this thing, like, she knows that Alexa's gonna play dirty and underhanded, and she does something like fake getting hit with a belt or something, causing the ref to be distracted, then she hits Sasha with like her boot or something and gets the pinfall that way, that would be fun. That would be something that, okay, she's finally trying to embrace a character of some type and maybe make her entertaining
that would
to
actually
watch.
be bad.
But
Yeah.
I just don't see that happening, and that's why, for now, until they can act again, until they give us a baby face on Raw that's actually fun to watch, I just don't want to. I just can't see anyone worthy of taking the belt from Alexa at this point. And of course, we have to bring up the fact that the whole reason this match is taking place is only because of the fact that Bayley got injured a couple of weeks back and had to drop out. I do think that she will be back, and actually, if anything, what makes me believe that Alexa will retain is the fact that they still are going to give Bayley that matchup again at some point. But then again, I think Bayley's struggling with the same issue that I think Sasha is. Their characters are both just getting stale, and they aren't taking it to another level. And you could blame creative all you want at some point, but at some point in time, when you look at how Alexa has been running with her character, you gotta look at the performer and having to take some responsibility of at least doing something more.
I think honestly the best thing they could do is actually just have her sign with Titus, Titus Worldwide. I think if they do that, that would be a good step in the right direction. Have her saying, "I'm announced to have, ladies and gentlemen," like have Titus and comes out and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the newest signee of Titus Worldwide is Sasha Banks," and then have her come out and do all that type of stuff, and have her it would probably be a big moment for her, and because they have great chemistry with each other, so why not? That would actually be a good fit for them.
You were saying, Jeff? You were about to say?
Sorry, by the way.
Well, I was just going to say that, when you're not given really much of anything to do other than just try and look like an idiot, that's just you can't really blame the performer, when they don't have anything to work with.
Yeah, perhaps. Like I said, I just wonder if I guess I'm not saying there isn't
it's an amalgamation of different things.
Yeah, I guess it's just saying I'm seeing some performers that I would think that all the superstars at some level have to deal with whatever they're given. If there's a possibility that some are being given more than others, maybe that's possible. But I just think that at some point in time, people sometimes, and I'm saying this as a performer myself, that sometimes I need to take what I'm given and try what can I personally do to make it better and try to take more charge of it. That's what guys like Stone Cold and The Rock pretty much did in their heydays, that they just started trying to be more of themselves and more running with their own over-the-top personalities that kind of helped them get over. In fact, maybe this is just coincidence, but one thing I just happen to love is the fact that within this whole feud, the night that she becomes the number one contender, Sasha, she's in her hometown in Boston, so she comes out in this shirt saying Boss Town in Red Sox-style letters. So what does Alexa Bliss do to trump that? She shows up at Yankee Stadium for a photo op wearing a jersey with the number 5 on the back and Feet of Fury as the name. that's how you take it to another step level. That was just really entertaining in my book. And I'm not even a Yankees fan. I mean, greatest moment of my sports life was seeing Neftali Feliz make A-Rod strike out looking for the Rangers to beat the Yankees for the pennant in 2010. Anybody who knows me as a Rangers fan knows I got no love for the Bronx Bombers, but for Alexa to use them like that to try to show up Sasha Banks, mad props to the goddess for that. But
yeah, I can see that. But overall, I think this match.
Don't worry, Bliss. His sacrifice is in the mail.
But you know what? I see Bliss retaining, and honestly, I don't know where you go from here. But I think it's going to be a very interesting ride for. Originally, this was going to be Bayley in this role, which was.
Yep. And then yeah.
I know, and people want to blame Nia. I don't blame her. These things happen. I mean, this, as Coach Taz, this is not ballet.
Yeah, no one was calling for Asuka's head when she injured Ember Moon with almost the exact same move. So it's just kind of it's kind of an unfair situation that they go after the people they don't like when they do something that gets someone hurt. When something else happens, like Seth Rollins getting Finn Balor injured, that was almost like a toss-up because one, it's their guy Balor, but they still love Rollins, so they're trying to say, that's just the business, that's just what happens. So yeah, that's kind of the whole hypocrisy on my part in that way. And speaking of Finn Balor, the next match on the card, Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt in what looks to clearly be the match where everyone's finally going to get this supposed demon personality that Bray Wyatt has, if that last promo on Monday Night Raw is any indication.
Oh gosh, the demon, our base of Finn Balor has, or Seth Rollins would say, the Demon King, the Demon King, the Demon King.
I'm coming.
But and honestly, this feud has been. I mentioned before, this was just so terrible, and even better. This past week, and I watch a little bit of Raw to say, maybe I'd give someone a chance. I tried, and then I saw after Bray Wyatt won the match, and then not only that, picked up a bucket and spilled this strawberry jam. Which I don't care what it is, strawberry jam that they poured on, or it was Kool-Aid. and the thing is, with Michael Cole's calling it vicious acidic acid or blood.
Viscous acidic liquid. Viscous acidic liquid. I mean, what are you talking about? Like battery acid, motor oil?
Is he trying to burn him alive? I'm like, what? No, I don't know.
It's the bloodbath basically, except on a much lower budget.
Oh, gosh, and I sat there. I was like, yeah, but why do I take any of these people seriously again? I didn't care about Finn Balor or Bray Wyatt. I mean, like I said, Bray Wyatt did not have the best years and such. But you know what? I'm like, after watching that, I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care about this match. I don't care about this feud. I don't care about either of these two people at all. So, demon or not, Bray Wyatt, do face of fear or not, these two, honestly, gosh.
At some point in time, you just have to accept the fact that maybe a guy like Finn Balor isn't meant for WWE level. He doesn't have that type of able to show a strong character. And look, I'm sure he's a good guy. I know he trained Becky Lynch, another of my favorites. I don't want to paint any wrestler personally as not a bad human being because I don't know them as much as I can. But as a performer, I just don't get the appeal of Finn Balor because he's another guy where almost all you have to go on in his ring work. And when I know it's all staged, I don't have a reason to want to see him succeed. And yeah, I'm sorry, I just think his finishing move is one of the dumbest things ever. It's less believable as a finishing move than the Hogan leg drop, in my estimation. But that's
and
just
even
me.
better, is that you can find people who could do that move even better. A.K.A. Low-Key, if you want to look him up. He does that move even better than Finn Balor. My problem is that there was nothing evolving his character. All he is just Well, before that, he's just a guy with a jacket talking about the Baylor Cup, and then he's wham, the Demon. I'm like, what? That's it? No real. I mean, heck, you're going to go back. I'm actually watching some old school stuff, for my latest review and such. Watching, for example, the whole transformation from a one-man gang to Keem, the American Dream. They have setup. They actually built this up. And instead of just, with WWE, they should have done something like this. Instead, they just said, he's the Demon, and he dresses this up. Why?
Yeah, that's...
Battle makeup. And I know Writrzblok is probably just having an aneurysm right now. And I'm going to say this to you, brother. I know you probably like him, and I know there's a lot of people out there who do. I can see the appeal in some aspects. He's actually a decent wrestler. I think he's good, and he has the pedigree to be something, who has worked all over the world, New Japan and such. But, man, it's just trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Well, if I may speak for myself here.
Very well, of course.
I like Finn Balor. I think he definitely has a certain kind of charisma to him. The way he carries himself. Yes, yeah. Are his promos the greatest in the world? No, I'll freely admit that. But he has a way of carrying himself, and he presents himself as a big deal. He has, the smoking jacket, and yes, it is a cool fucking smoking jacket. And when he does the arm lift, and everybody does the arm lift too, and just he has a presentation about himself that you don't see with a whole lot of people. But on the other hand, sure, you may not think that he has like a ton of character, or that he doesn't have like or he doesn't have like truly compelling storylines. The thing is, I remember back during SummerSlam, like last year, when he was going to face Seth Rollins, he talked about his heritage. He talked about Balor, the Irish Demon King, which is where he tied in the character of the Demon. Now, many people may have forgotten because, he had an injury and he was out for the better part of a year. But I still remember that. I mean, and I keep that in mind whenever he talks about the Demon. And of course, the body paint has always been part of a part of the wrestler's repertoire. When he was in the Indies, he would come out as Venom or as Carnage or as the Joker or something else. I mean, I was watching a match with him and Zack Sabre Jr. when they were in Progress, and he came out as essentially the Joker. He has the ability to carry himself with a character and to be able to move in certain ways that are different than what he normally does. And I'm remembering back to his times in NXT, and I know nobody watches NXT, nobody cares about NXT, blah 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 blah.
I've made my view on that. I'll say this right now. I made a view. I will try to start watching NXT when they stop having a 40-year-old holding the championship belt of a developmental territory. If Bobby Roode ever drops it to a younger guy, I'll start giving it a try, because then I'll start thinking it's being used for what it is. Maybe I'll go into more detail another time, but I'll just leave it at that. That's my take. Okay,
but going back to Finn, I think he has what it takes. He just needs a little something extra to get him over the hump. I mean, personally, I would just start booking it so that the Demon is not just something that comes out with the face paint, but it's, just another personality of his, where he's, more sinister, more ruthless, more, violent. As for Bray Wyatt, yeah, they've kind of screwed the pooch on him so many times. The pooch actually has their number on speed dial. So they, the thing with Bray Wyatt is that, honestly, the last couple of feuds he's won, if you think about it. I mean, the one with Randy Orton, yeah, he lost the title at WrestleMania, but he won
in an embarrassing fashion, by the way.
But he won the House of Horrors match. I mean, even when the title was, even when the title wasn't on the line, he still won the last match of the feud. So, and with Seth Rollins, he decisively won their little skirmish. So it's not just, so he still has a ways to go. The problem is that a lot of goodwill for him has been diminished, has been whittled away by really poor booking decisions and by just, you know, not knowing what to do with the character.
And
so
if a match like this can find some way to just give either one of them, even Finn Balor, the chance to do get more character, I'm willing to give it a shot. That's what I'll say that much. And moving on to someone that they apparently do really want to try to push and hopefully give more character. Moving on to our next match is Big Cass versus Big Show, with Enzo Amore as the damsel in distress, suspended from above the ring in a shark cage.
You know, this is not the second time a shark cage match happened in WWE this year, and that I honestly think there were probably I would say not the worst matches, because the first one was somewhat decent, but I didn't really care. Because of this, they still had the reason why you have the shark cage is to prevent distraction and interference.
Yeah.
But no, they don't have that. And you know, it's funny because again, I've seen worse ways. I mean, watch the TNA match between like Jay Lethal versus Robbie E and that type with Cookie strapped up in the cage too. They talk about screwing up a cage match. You want to see that? But you know what? This match, I just don't. It started out that he just Cass didn't want Enzo anywhere near the arena, and then somehow it turned to, cage match. Put him in a steel cage. I'm like, wait, what? How did we get here? I actually watched that promo live. I was like, did we just edit? Did they just edit something? Did I miss a scene?
I think they have like a contract. I think they have a contract deal with the guy who makes the cage.
But this, I just don't. I like I said, Enzo is becoming a headache. I would not be surprised he leaves WWE and go for a recording contract or something because he's friends with DJ Khaled or whatever. So
yeah, I think that this is basically was just a way that I think they needed to kind of close the feud on Enzo and Cass in some way without having them actually be in another match, because I don't think they could have had Enzo win in a realistic way that would have continued to make Cass look strong and continue to push him like I think they want to. At the same time, I don't think people were interested in another Cass for Squash's Enzo match, so they put the Big Show in this one to kind of be almost like the second fall guy, and at the very least, it would probably look like maybe it might be a more compelling fight, because even at his age, Show still seems to be in better shape for the most part. Gonna wait and see how this whole broken hand situation is going to play into it. He's probably gonna come out with some ginormous cast that could potentially be used as a weapon. One might think.
We haven't seen that. This is not the first time we've seen that.
Oh, absolutely not. So yes, what gets me thinking of it. My take is that still we're probably going to see Cass win this thing, and then hopefully we'll wait and see where he goes from there. I think the future of the Universal Championship may play a factor into that, which we'll get to eventually down the line. I mean, does anyone else here see that maybe Big Show might be able to pull this thing off?
No. I see Cass wins, moves on.
Yeah, I mean logically Cass should win because he needs the bump.
Yeah.
But really, from what I understand, there's like a rumor going around that they're going to have Show turn on Enzo sometime either before. Well, yeah, that's like what 2,827th.
Well, he's got a competition with. He's in competition.
He's due for one.
He's in competition with Jericho for most all time. So he's got.
He's due for an alignment change. So
anyway, we move on next to Randy Orton versus Rusev, who is probably. Like I said, I'm not all sunshine and roses when it comes to WWE creative. I do think that Rusev is one guy that's been sadly underutilized for much of his career.
Fair.
He's one guy that I would not mind seeing a face turn at some point in time, that he could be a legitimate person that the crowd could get behind. And I think a number of them want to get behind him. It kind of makes me somewhat worried. Like I said, I'm trying to keep these. I try to keep the dirt sheet rumors with a grain of salt. But hearing rumors that he had supposedly at some point in time asked for his release. I don't know when and where that took place, if it did at all. But this could be a big thing where this match it could go a long way in determining where Rusev is going to go and what his future is with the company.
Oh yeah, I think Rusev he's in a in a very odd place right now. He doesn't know what to do, and honestly, I think if he was going for the, I thought he would be perfect for the Money in the Bank. I think that would have been perfect for him, but I think he's lost in the shuffle right now. I think his matches with Chad, I think Chad Gable,
right.
Were good, but again, I'm like, I said this on Twitter, Chad Gable is still losing, and I'm like, what is the character? A guy who just goes and wrestles? I'm like, that sort of thing.
This is a guy who he needs a character refreshment. I think Rusev does more than
Rusev needs a huge character refreshment. He lost Lana to the women's division, and now it's just like I wish that Rusev, who honestly had a pretty bad year last year, and now he's just there's no way. I mean, they basically. I think Rusev needs to. I honestly think he needs probably wish there was a WCW or something like that. I wish he could just get out WWE for a while. Just go away for a while, clear your head, and then come back when he's on. When they need, because honestly, they need to start. Because these talents, they are talented right now, but I think Rusev probably needs to. If they're not going to do anything with Rusev, I think he needs to leave. I think he needs to go freshen himself up. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, he can probably drop the evil forerunner gimmick that they've saddled him with since the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps, yeah. That's one time. I think, like I said, I think he could be. If they did it right, he could become that type of foreigner character that I think the crowd could get behind if they would just find a way to do it right. And that's sadly probably is the reason why this is probably the match I've got the least amount of interest in. Moving on, which is why I'm probably going to quickly move on to AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens once again for the United States Championship, this time with Shane McMahon as the special guest referee. I mean, you gotta give credit, these guys do put on entertaining matches, so
that's my reaction to all their matches so far. AJ and Kevin Owens have no chemistry with each other. And it just seems like big spot finish. I don't care for them.
Honestly, the problem isn't with their matches overall. The problem is, the endings have been kind of ugly. But honestly, with this one, Shane being a factor, it might lead up to. Because since we already had Shane versus AJ, it might probably end up leading to Shane versus Kevin. You never know.
Yeah, and like I said, obviously this thing, writers brings up the correct thing about the finishes having problems, because we learned that because there was a major botch that allowed Owens to first take that title back, and they've kind of had to find a way to recover from that ever since. So we got to hope that with a guy like Shane in there for this match, they've got a fitting way to probably close the door on this, and perhaps have someone like AJ have a good run with the United States title and see where he can go with it. Maybe he can be worked back up to being a contender for the WWE title further on down the line, because I've said, look, of all these indie darling guys that I keep making jokes about, AJ's the one guy that he does know. He has the ability to play to a crowd and be an entertaining character. And I said I didn't like him as a heel because he's the type of guy I think you want to try and get behind, just because he has that type of charisma. And so I'm hoping he does get the opportunity to run with this belt for a while and and elevate the mid-card to something pretty good.
Well, I mean, yeah. And by the way, AJ Styles, a lot of that charisma and stuff came from, I think, hanging out with Ric Flair back when the Fortune days and such.
Yeah.
I know people throw shade on that, but seriously, that helped him out immensely. I think even his when he record interviews, so yeah, that helped him out immensely to being more, comfortable on the microphone. And that type of stuff, which is people right now WWE needs, they need more relaxed, more competent, on the microphone. That's what you need to do in the in the WWE and everything. That's just my personal opinion.
So we move next on to the SmackDown Women's Championship match. My boy Mike Burmese girl Naomi defending it against Natalya in what just seems to me seems to be kind of a filler match as far as the SmackDown Women's title goes. I think that, of course, let's face it, everyone, I think we're all kind of in a holding pattern, so to speak, as to when the boom is going to be lowered and Carmella's going to cash in. And, given the fact that this is taking place in the boroughs, it might be as good a time as her as any, but you just have to wonder what type of circumstances are going to go on that she would perhaps find a way to cash in. I think that, obviously, what happened to Baron Corbin is probably increases the likelihood that Carmella will cash in and become champion. And then,
yes.
And then it might become a lot more... that's what I think is when the women's title picture on SmackDown becomes a lot more compelling, in my estimation.
Yeah, and Naomi has actually been a good champion so
Yeah.
far. I liked her new belt. I like her way she's holding the championship and the way she designed it. The glow belt, which is amazing. I wonder if they sold that belt yet, by the way. Hopefully, yeah, because
if they haven't, they should.
Yes. But then again, they haven't, they selling the tag team, like the custom-made tag team titles of the New Day, and yet they haven't showed that on showed the New Day wearing them yet. So I don't know what left hand don't know what the right hand's doing in the world of WWE. What a surprise! But I say Naomi will win the match, but also Carmella will come in, cash in, and win. In fact, I think it'll be more interesting if Natalya wins, and then after that, something she gets close to, and then loses. Maybe a little sort of a face run for Natalya, or something like that, because this whole thing about respect and honor with Naomi and Natalya thing was going on for this little thing with their little tit and tats and such. Mm-hmm. I think this would be really good, a really positive thing if they do that, if they actually went that far.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is... Yes, Jeff?
Well, honestly, I don't see Natalya winning because it just does. Because honestly, they haven't really shown any sort of faith in Natalya as a champion or as a character. Really, she's there. She's part of the Hart Dynasty. She trained in the dungeon. She's Brett's niece. She's Jim Neidhart's daughter. Nepotism and all that stuff. So I mean, she's there. She puts on really good matches, but I don't think that they see her as a champion. They see her as a steady. They see her as a workhorse, essentially.
Yeah, I do think this is why I really am beginning to think that, at least for the moment, the most compelling aspects of the women on SmackDown for now are outside of the championship picture right now. You've got what's going on here with Lana. She's obviously supposed to be representing like a parody of the WWE divas of the past, but at the same time, she seems to be wanting to prove she's more than that, which is why she's wanting to team herself up with Tamina, and this actually might be something compelling on that. But meanwhile, and sadly, probably the most interesting thing for me is what's going on backstage on Twitter and stuff, and just this BFF friendship between Becky and Charlotte that I think is getting underutilized severely on the air, where, you got people online coining the phrase T-Generation X, and I'm thinking, why the heck aren't they running with this? That's probably the biggest disappointment I've got as far as the women goes, because that could be some damn entertaining stuff to me. But
yeah. Although, is it just me, or does it seem like they're just retreading Rusev and Lana, but switching out Rusev for Tamina?
Perhaps. We'll have to wait and see where they're going to go with it. But anyway, that moves us on to probably the match that I think, especially Duke's been waiting to talk about, John Cena versus Baron Corbin, and just how is Corbin going to react now with him having lost his opportunity to be champion, and where do they go from here after it?
The only way they can salvage this is to have Baron Corbin, when John Cena comes out, Baron Corbin completely destroys him. I mean, beats him down to the inch of his life type of stuff. I mean, I wish they could do like a bit of, I know they have a no blood rule, but I would say that part of me wants to have a little blood here to be like, oh crap, it's that real. That sort of thing, that type of beatdown. And no, I mean, that match doesn't happen, of course. It's like 5 to minutes. And then Corbin just says, I'm done with this. I'm done getting screwed over. I'm going to destroy John Cena and make sure he never wrestles again. And then later on, well, I will continue my thoughts about that. But later on for the, for the next match or whatever, which I think Chris is going to talk about. But that's what I would say. Baron Corbin needs to destroy John Cena.
And for what it's worth, after what Cena did against Brock Lesnar at this time at SummerSlam some years ago, he might be willing to do that. Like I said, I talked before about how supposedly Cena has had this vow of penance to lose 7 straight SummerSlams because he realized that not putting over the Nexus in 2010 was a bad idea. So I could see him doing something like that. I do think that it's largely going to depend on just how bad this supposed backstage heat that Corbin has is. Like, I still would pick him to win this match, but where he goes after this, I think depends on how many bridges he may have burned in the back. That's going to be what it.
Honestly, I agree with Duke about Corbin needing to just utterly annihilate Cena in order to get any sort of heat back. On-screen heat, that is. He needs to just like completely destroy, beat up John Cena so bad that he goes over to Raw because apparently that's a thing that's going to happen.
Right.
So he just completely destroys John Cena. The match either the match happens and he wins, or the match doesn't happen. He just turns into a monster heel, because right now SmackDown does not have a monster heel. They don't have Raw's equivalent to Braun Strowman.
No, you don't like the modern day Maserati.
Yeah, I mean, and Jinder Mahal's no monster heel. He's just been kind of a lucky dupe, and they kind of played him like that. He's kind of gotten a big head about himself. He's because he's won a couple matches and stuff, and he's had help by the Singh brothers. Who basically killed themselves trying to keep him champion.
Uh-huh. Well, speaking of which, guess we move right on into that. The WWE title match, Jinder Mahal against Shinsuke Nakamura. The match that has everybody in my wrestling Facebook groups trying to wonder, like, is this, at least probably the ones who consider themselves smart, just hoping against hope that maybe Shinsuke is going to win this thing. I don't really see it happening, to be perfectly honest. And I think, I do wonder is that if this is kind of just, was this just a match that they put up together to try to prove anything can happen, because everyone was expecting Mahal versus Cena for this show, and they just said, let's just throw him a curveball and let them know that, you can't predict everything, not even in our predetermined organization.
Oh, yeah. I think, honestly, this match will be at least somewhat decent. I mean, Jinder Mahal has been doing pretty well. I mean, his matches have been really good so far. I think Shinsuke has been slowly getting his groove. So I think this could be a really good match, and under low-key match. But the finish should be, and I told this a little bit earlier. I told I'll get back to it. You have Baron Corbin come out and annihilate both of them, both Jinder and Shinsuke. I mean, beat both of them down. The Singbird's trying to get in, bam, he takes them out too, and takes the WWE title. He says, "This is mine," and really puts the whole lone wolf thing, and just like he just leaves with the belt. And they both had to, Daniel Bryan and Shane trying to do something, calm him down. He says, "No, I don't care anymore. Take that belt away," and he just walks away from the whole arena. And says, "That's it," that sort of thing. And then next time on SmackDown Live, you can have Baron Corbin say, "You know what? I'll give this up, but if the big Maserati want to stop me, he could come in there and take it." But he won't. He'll just take his little, and that sort of thing. Build the stuff up there.
That's one thing I want to say is about nothing else. As far as Jinder Mahal goes, this is one thing I've seen this from both sides, is that I just don't go with all these people who say that SmackDown's sucking right now because they put the belt on a jobber. Like, this is a guy who worked his butt off, again, embraced a character like too few are willing to do right now, and you know what? Give it for what it's worth. He's giving it his all in his performance right now. And while he is supposed to be the hated, evil, foreigner heel, at least he's running with it for the most part. And whether or not, if he's drawing heat just because people don't like the fact that he started off as a jobber and then came out of nowhere, that's unfortunately seems about the only one of the few ways you can get heat nowadays in wrestling, sadly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I get that.
Honestly, I think it'll be a pretty good match with Shinsuke and Jinder. Shinsuke can, I'm sure he can get a great match out of Jinder, and Jinder can do the same for Shinsuke. And obviously the Singh brothers are going to be involved. There's going to be that. They're going to probably eat like two Kinshasas each. Mm-hmm. Or maybe a couple of good vibrations here and there, and then Jinder hits the Colossus or something. I mean, it could go either way. Yeah. Honestly, with either Shinsuke winning and being instigating the Nakamura dynasty, or Jinder winning and keeping the belt until they do their little India tour where, and then afterwards Jinder drops the belt and gets booted back down in the mid card, because
I will say
I said, this could go either way.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think probably, the best way the match could be booked is probably almost a combination of what both of you guys had said. Like, Shinsuke is able to take out both of the Singh brothers, still show he can hold his own against Jinder, and then the unknown element of Baron Corbin coming in and destroying, either helping Mahal retain it or taking out both of them in some form or fashion, might be the ultimate way to kind of maybe shock people and put a compelling end to that match. In the meantime, then, of course, we go to the main event, which I think is probably still a hell of a better main event than what they had last year at SummerSlam. Fatal 4-Way for the WWE Universal Championship: Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns. This is just... Okay, is the ring going to survive this match?
Probably. But it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very fun main event, which is going to be a lot better than the last main event.
Yeah.
WWE had last year, because I think all these four guys are going to bring it a lot more. I think Lesnar, when he's focused and everything else, I think he is probably one of the best. He could bring out the best in it. Lesnar, Reigns, Joe, Strowman. I think these are going to be really good stuff for them. I think this is going to probably be really good. I think Strowman's going to look really strong here. I think he's going to be like, wow, this dude's really good. Overall, I think this match is going to be fun, exciting. I have Samoa Joe winning. Getting Katina clutch on Brock Lesnar, actually. And, have Reigns getting a little mad that he couldn't do it. And maybe have a match like Night of Champions. Have those two, maybe have a double turn, I think, maybe with Reigns and Joe. And you'll have Strowman, which I told you I was going to talk about Strowman for the Intercontinental. I would have Strowman go against, say, the Miztourage. Have them go down one by one until he gets the Intercontinental title. I think Strowman for the Intercontinental Championship would be amazing. Have him run, just destroy every person involved. And then you have someone like Apollo Crews. If you have Strowman as a heel, fine. But yeah, make him a heel or something. But have someone like Apollo Crews, because he did do some cool stuff with him, and he did take him down. Have Crews train and do all this type of stuff, and finally beat him, like, say, at the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania or something like that. And bam, you have a new star in your hands with the Intercontinental title with that. But then again, that's just me.
Jeff, your take on who might end up coming out on top in this thing?
Well, like the world title, it could go any way. It could go, any of 4 ways. Braun Strowman could definitely pull off a Universal title run. He could be like an excellent monster heel who actually shows the fuck up instead of Brock. I mean, Brock could continue to hold the belt, but then there's the stuff with UFC that, might get in the way of him being Universal Champion. Joe, I think, could also make a really good monster heel, especially just the way he just becomes like just almost an assassin of it. He, just straight up murks people. Roman, Roman is the one I don't see walking away with the title. Not yet. Especially after, if anything, he should win it at WrestleMania against, or retain against Brock at WrestleMania. After a good long setup period.
Yeah, I do think that another title reign for Roman Reigns is further down the line. I would actually have him winning by the Royal Rumble, to be perfectly honest. And then I think there would be a setup. I think that the projected main event for the next WrestleMania is Reigns versus Cena, to be perfectly honest, with Reigns as the champion. I don't see. Everyone wants to think that that's going to be the case because Roman is Vince's boy and everything, but I don't see Roman taking the belt tomorrow night. And also, at the same time, I don't see Braun Strowman taking it just because they want him to be that monster, but they want to still keep the idea that the championship can be beaten. The champion can be beaten. I don't think they can do that with Braun, at least at this time, that they can continue to be this destructive monster and continue to have people thinking that the champion could be beaten at any time. But at the same time, again, because of the possible UFC future that Duke talked about and everything, I think they want to get the belt off of Brock as soon as they can, which is why I'm thinking Samoa Joe wins the belt in this time, and we're going to eventually see a program of Samoa Joe against Roman Reigns down the line at some point in time with the title on the line there. So that's my pick to beat this. But like I said, there's just so many just ferocious animals in this match that, it's probably going to be the most entertaining aspect of SummerSlam altogether. I think this is one time where they really are going to end up saving the best for last, as it should be.
Yeah, I hope so. I think, again, if they plan this right, you can't have a big star and make a star at this. I think Joe holding the Universal title for a while is good. There's actually, I think you could do something with him for a while. Lesnar, I think it's time for him to leave. I think this would be something like that. I mean, have Roman do I think a double face and heel turn. I think something like with Joe, like I said, I think it would be better off if he did that. I think it would be better off, and you have a more of a destructive, say, Roman and such. And with that, you can maybe actually have this destructive force with Roman and, Braun. Meanwhile, with Roman. And then you have Strowman, like I said, pushing for the Intercontinental title, and you will see some really good stuff. I think there is something there for the Intercontinental. When's the last time you have a champion who just completely demolished people other than Brock Lesnar? I think having Strowman
seemed to have a bit lost connection with Duke at this time. Writrzblok, you still there?
be a long shot. That's just my thing.
Okay, I'm sorry. You were a bit broken up at that point in time, and I apologize for that. I'm not sure if we recorded or not, and if not, I apologize. So that's kind of a difficult thing, but I do think, but at the very least, I do think we want to end this show on a much more uplifting message, and I think we all would like to give our best wishes to the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, who, of course, was hospitalized roughly about a week ago, has been gradually improving his condition, and I think we all are pulling for the best for the 16-time heavyweight world champion.
Yes, the man who survived the plane crash, survived lightning, heck, even survived WCW 2000. And this dude cannot, die at this point. So you know what? All the best, Nature Boy, and keep style and profile.
Woo! Someone had to get that in there. Absolutely. So, yes, again, we definitely did go overtime here, an hour and 33 minutes. Well, anybody's guess how long SummerSlam's going to last tomorrow night. So, but it's hopefully if it's going to result in a main event like that Fatal 4-Way, hopefully it will be worth the wait. So once again, I want to thank, again, my guest stars, Charles Thomas and Jeff Gwinnip, for taking the time to be here. We're hopefully that John Paul Weber will be back next time to talk about probably one of the most heated discussions that we've been looking forward to. It's almost the number one reason why we agreed to start this podcast in the first place. But once again, I want to thank both of you guys for agreeing to be on this show once again.
No problem, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So for Writrzblok, Jeff Gwinnip, for DukeCT, Charles Thomas, this is Rowdy Chris Lee Morris, and thanks for listening once again to the Rasslin Roundup. Here's hoping SummerSlam is enjoyable for all of you wrestling fans out there, and also for all other fans of Rowdy C Productions. Stay tuned in a couple of weeks, this August 28th, for the debut of the Rowdy and Friends series. All Patreon supporters will get the pilot episode this Monday, August 21st, just for as little as $1 a month. Sign on at patreon.com/RowdyCProductions to join up and get the first crack at the newest addition to the Rowdy C Productions lineup. Until next time, stay rowdy, my friends.
Backstreet in the whole USA.